to say you want to prosecute Ali Modu Sharif, who was pro-OBJ. And that's why Obasanjo himself was in Borno State, because they worked the system. Positively, negatively, nobody knows. You cannot put the numbers there. But things, why was he in Borno State? Why was Ali Modu Sharif in South Africa? Politicians do these things to win election. Their perception is that when we win election, I was a presidential candidate.
Yeah.
So I can tell you that I've gone through, a candidate is different from an aspirant. A candidate means the federal government would have vetted your time in the maritime. They would have vetted the 100 trips you've done worldwide to represent Nigeria. They vetted the time when you were in NNPC, in the Procurement Management Services Department. They vetted the time when you were in charge of all the ports of the nation and you never went home with a foreign account. So by the time they say Alhaji Litman can sit down on the same table with Buhari, I sat down on the same table with him during with the late Ade Farachi, with Oji Kalu and all the stuff. So it tells you that this is a person that would have worked the system also, would have known the system also. But some of this system, you can't say, because sometimes you come back and say, why I put the numbers? Then you have slander charges, slammed on you. So a lot of people will say, okay, we can discuss this in private. So a lot of the issues that ought to go into the public domain, you cannot do them.
So do you think that the conditions are impossible? You've already said that.
Yeah, the conditions are impossible. The government on its own side is an institution. And the Supreme Court has given Jonathan Goodluck the presidency. So he is the president. You cannot dictate to a president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
So, would you advise government not to?
No, the point is that it's consensus. I've given you, you see, there's a guy who came and met me. He said, look, Alhaji Litman, you are a presidential candidate, you are a media person. Please, there is going to be an announcement tomorrow, and that announcement looks like as if it's going to be Jonathan Goodluck that is going to be the president. And invariably from your states, from the northern Nigeria, from the crowd that we're seeing, there's going to be revolt. So I am a conflict resolution expert. He said, look, I will want you to be my spokesperson. When you happen to have that opportunity, tell Africans that, look, it should not be a winner-takes-all syndrome. That will result in crisis. And I told him, I said, yeah, I agree with him, because even Abraham Lincoln, as far back as the late 19th century, after winning the election, he said, I need to carry people like Pado Tome and Ojukwu to be part of my cabinet. Late Ojukwu. Yeah, I mean, not precisely that, but people of that. They asked him why. He said, these are people that, in their own different perspective, have been recognized as leaders. And they are also part of my constituency as American president. So I need to have a team of rivals who are experts. And immediately after the election, all they needed to do was say, look, Buhari, you are aggrieved. But you see, the reality is that I am the president. You understand? I'm the president, and there's nothing you can do. Because you are very popular in northern Nigeria, but you're not popular in Southeast. You are not popular in you didn't campaign in Southwest. It has to be man-to-man. Politics is man-to-man. You say, but anyhow, you have a credibility, people have a followership. Here is 700, 800 billion naira. Go and do a PTF something for the capacity regeneration. There's a lot of Almajiri issues and all that. And it's done with genuineness. They said, okay, why am I actually looking for power? Is it not to better the life of people? So this was not done. So what you are now doing is what you would have done prior to loss of this life. You must now accept the fact that you cannot see somebody in the media with all this crowd. Buhari had a lot of crowd. In the media, if you play some of the tapes, you see them. And you just say, no, this man is nobody, he should go to hell. It doesn't work that way. Human beings have ego.
So you're saying that it's not so much because the conditions are impossible, but because the government has an ego to protect.
Not only the government has an ego, human beings all have ego. Look, when the kamikaze suicide bombers of Japan, went to Pearl Harbor, and when human beings can strap bombs to kill themselves, is the only creation that has the capacity to do that. The other ones do suicide by mistake, like some of these wildebeest that are crossing the Serengeti water. They do by mistake. But human beings, its food, shelter, and everything are subservient to what they call the ego. And if you don't understand the human ego, you create problems where people say, is it because of this? You just put self-immolation. You put fire, petrol, and burn himself. So the human being is a very sensitive creation for whatever reasons, scientific or spiritual or whatever reason. You need to understand those sensitivity. And those sensitivity is what ought to be brought to the table. Not in Saudi Arabia or not Buhari. It may not necessarily be Buhari. It may not necessarily be a European Union. These are suggestions. What we are saying is that you needed to have institutions and individuals, not names really, individuals that will give some semblance of genuineness to see how we can address this cantankerous security crisis.
So now that the sect is offering hand of negotiation do you think the federal government should take it? Because a host of people will
They
say
have no choice.
that this is coming at a time when it would seem that the federal government is beginning to clamp down on
Not
the
clamp down.
situation in Borno State.
The federal government, unfortunately, does not have choice. These guys are people who are ready to kill themselves. So how do you fight here? Your Excellency Jonathan Goodluck has repeatedly said, how do I handle somebody who is already prepared to kill himself? So it's not a question of prepared to negotiate. If they don't do, this situation will go. And who are the ones at the end of the day?
Is it all of them across the cadre, or that's just foot soldiers who are ready to kill themselves? Because what you usually find is that those who are usually on top of the cadre are not prepared to kill themselves.
Or they are prepared to kill themselves.
The foot
you see what happened in Hitler's Germany. The foot soldiers were doing. By the time it came to his stage, and he found out that, oh, I was trying to fight a war, and that war didn't make sense. Genocide had taken place, the Holocaust has taken place. What did he do? He told his PA, the lady PA that was with him, he said, look, if I don't shoot myself, just shoot me. So well, normally the leaders are the last at the vanguard, the last stage of the war. So by the time this kind of things comes, you sign. I mean, I'm not saying that Buhari was the leader of the Boko Haram, but you saw him cry. A general was crying because he perceived what was going to happen. He saw friends that were with him winning elections, like the case of Yugda, who won the election under the platform of the ANPP, abandoning him to join the PDP and marrying Yaradwa's daughter and things like that. So politicians see these kind of things and really get hurt, because it's only when you now go into the real practical aspects of politics you will genuinely begin to see truth in terms of who and who are your friends.
What do you think about they chose Saudi Arabia as a neutral venue? Because they say the government has failed us in the past, and so we'll prefer Saudi Arabia this time.
You see, the Wahhabi movement, the Salafs, the Wahhabi, the Saudi Arabia, the Al-Qaeda, all the other greater cousins that are existing with a philosophy, what is Islam? What is Ratul Mustaqim? What is Sharia? And that came with the USA trying to dislodge the atheist Soviet Union in Kabul. So there was a lot of recruitment in post the Iranian Revolution. There was a lot of recruitment going on. Recruitment from Nigeria, recruitment from Peshawar, recruitment from Libya, to dislodge Soviet Union for the oil and gas in Afghanistan. So now this Wahhabi are being looked as people that had sponsored Al-Qaeda. And America supported them because they needed to have the Islamic theocracy somewhere in the Taliban regime in Afghanistan. So their choice is basically, we've been associating with people that we believe had a genuine cause. Over 1 million Afghans were killed for the oil and gas. Over 1 million Iraqis were also killed to dislodge Saddam Hussein. So there is a lot of geopolitics that had taken place. And these guys, the recruits, the affiliates of Boko Haram, are people that had brought down September 11th, for crying out loud. They brought down the, what do you call it, the London Underground, the Madrid, Spain bombing that took place and all that. So they're not, the federal government, Jonathan Goodluck is not joking when he went to Angela Merkel in Germany and said, please, I need technology. So really, it's not about that we should go to Saudi Arabia. It's to recognize the depths of this issue. It's to recognize, to call the intelligence experts, the FBI, the CIA, the Mossad, every other person. Because Nigeria is critical. You think you have a sovereign state. Technology and resource thinks that wherever it belongs to them. So there is a mismatch here. So these other people that come in are equity players. They are critical also stakeholders.
What would you advise will be a middle ground? Because here on the one hand, you say that the federal government cannot take the terms and conditions of Boko Haram, yet you say they have no choice. How do they negotiate this difficult stance they found themselves?
Excellent. And this is why I brought all this kaleidoscope in the table. Nigeria is not my own country's a sovereign state, as all of us gullibly think. Shell is interested in Nigeria, for crying out loud. I'm sorry to mention their name, but they've been part and parcel since 1930-something. Chevron is interested. I'm sorry to mention their name, but they're part and parcel. They're genuine stakeholders. They're operating partners. And they know all these other things affect them. There is a pipeline from Chad, And everybody is saying that that oil from Chad, it's the underground oil from Borno State that is also bringing a lot of geopolitics and extra bombing and killings that are taking place. So let thorough investigation go on, and it's within the province of government. The first essential responsibility of government is security. And that's why government has billions of naira in terms of funds to do the research. It's when you find the intelligent research and you see who are the critical stakeholders in this equation. Ali Modu Sharif certainly is a critical stakeholder, but can you put numbers and say that he was the one that put that bullet on the Mohammed Yusuf? Very difficult.
All right.
It could be anybody who had killed Mohammed Yusuf. I'm not protecting him. So the point is that it's experts. It's the province of intelligence. And that's why in America, post-September 11, the CIA, they found out that even the CIA itself was working against the interests of American people. So a lot of the CIA directors were fired and reconfigured. The Homeland Security.
So what do you ask the
came
government
about.
to do?
The government needs to, that's precisely what I'm saying. They have the means, the capacity, the funds, the taxpayers' funds, the oil funds, and all these other things, to look at the intelligence, to look at the personality, to look at the process. You have conflict resolution experts worldwide. Look, Lee Kuan Yew said there's nothing essentially different in governance process. These things are done. There's nothing new under the sun. The book of Ecclesiastes is saying the water will come from this morning, it will be the same morning. So these things are not new. Al-Shabaab, Somalia is beginning to have some peace and quiet there. We've seen the Roliga or Dinga or something in Kenya having peace and quiet, Cote d'Ivoire having peace and quiet. How did they do it? Bring that template to Nigeria.